Alright, what is up YouTube? We are back and we're looking at our arcade machine. Since I built this thing, there's one thing that's been annoying me, and that was that flipping the power did not seem to turn everything on. You'll notice here I added an extra button. It turns out it wasn't actually needed. It worked for it works for what it's supposed to do. The only issue is that there were many other issues. But in this video, I'm gonna show you guys that I completely fixed this issue. I'll explain what it actually was, and I'll show you how I fixed it. So just to prove, it's still just that main plug that goes in. That's the, if you guys watch the video, there's a 4 outlet block in there that is just powered by this. So now if we flip this, you'll see the marquee goes on, the TV comes on, and the Pi now boots as well. And just wait for it, just to prove to you guys. And hopefully this will actually work. And there you go, it's booting directly into the Pi, and the TV is still in 720p 60 Hz, which is what this TV is. That's important. I'll show you guys why after. So we're going to let this boot, and I'm going to show you that it does work. The button down there is technically a reset, so when would that be used? That would be used, and I'll show you guys. If we go here and we say we want to quit, and we just shut the system down, which is an important step if you guys want to make sure you don't corrupt anything. So there you go, it's shut down. Now the reset button, momentarily press it, and the Pi will boot right back up. That's what that button is there for. It works. I won't show you guys because I forgot and I completely sealed this again and I don't want to take it apart. But basically on the Pi, on the side you're going to have a series of 2-pronged headers. If you count from the top, go down to the third one and just put a plug on it. The momentary button will bridge that 2-pin header and it'll force a restart. So there we go, it works. We're gonna get off the phone now and I'm gonna go onto my PC and I'm gonna show you what I had to do to get this to work properly. So please stand by. Alright, welcome back, and as you can tell, we're now in my computer room on my desktop. You're seeing my desktop right now. Why are we doing this? Well, because we're going to be configuring some options on the Raspberry Pi, and the easiest way to do that is just from my computer. To be able to do so, you're going to need to do a few things. One, your Raspberry Pi is going to have to be on the same network as your computer. This can be through network cable. If that's the easiest way, to be honest, just plug in a network cable, make sure you're going through the same router and you're on the same network. Done. Otherwise, and like what I did is, because I don't want to run a cable to my Raspberry Pi, but I do want it to be able to see the internet, I went ahead and just enabled Wi-Fi on the Raspberry Pi. If you have a Pi 3, and I don't know about Pi 0 and Pi 2, but Pi 3 definitely has built-in Wi-Fi. You're going to go to boot up. It's going to boot into Emulation Station and everything. There's going to be an option amongst the consoles that you have ROMs for. Go to RetroPie, and in there's going to be something called Wi-Fi or Setup Wi-Fi, something along those lines. It's super obvious. You're going to need to plug in a keyboard to your Pi, however, to be able to type in your network password. If you don't have a network password, you're a bit of an idiot. Go put a freaking password on your Wi-Fi. Once that's done, there's one more setting, and I don't remember where it is exactly, to be quite blunt with you guys, so you're going to want to Google this to be sure. But you need to enable SSH on your Pi. It might already be done. Mine was not, the image that I took. I believe, and don't quote me on this, but I think it was under RetroPie settings, and then input and interfaces, something like that, and then there's going to be an option clearly under that says enable SSH. Google it. I don't remember. I did this a while ago, and I just kind of, last time I had to, I just kind of went by memory. Anyway, you need to enable SSH. Why? Because we're going to be connecting to the Raspberry Pi through our network, through SSH, to be able to just type some commands. You can do this directly on the Pi if you want. I just rather have it on my computer so I don't have to unplug. I don't have multiple keyboards. I don't want to have to unplug my keyboard, go into the Pi, do so, blah, blah, blah. If you want to go that route, you can skip ahead to where I'm showing you what commands and edits you have to make to the config files. All you have to do is plug a keyboard into the Pi, hit F4, it's going to kick you to the same interface that I'm going to show you in a second. But before we get to that, I just want to explain how I came to this conclusion, how I figured this out. Basically, I was testing the reset switch, following instructions that people had put online. It seemed to work. If I booted everything up fully, I did a shutdown, I hit the reset button that I wired in, it would reset. Bob's your uncle, it's done, it works, cool, right, it works, all right. You saw I put the reset button. I left it there. It's not super useful anymore, but I'm going to leave it there. It can be useful. So that worked, and then I drilled the hole, put the button in and everything, and obviously I killed the full power to the arcade machine while I was doing so, just for safety reasons. And okay, well, cool. Let's boot back up. Okay, it's booting up. Cool. Press the reset. Oh, nothing happens. Okay, well, maybe it only works if you don't fully kill the power to the Pi. All right, cool. No problem. We'll just plug the Pi into the wall. Tested a bunch of times, and sometimes it worked. Very rarely, but most of the time, to be honest with you guys, it would just go. TV would just say nothing. No signal to display. So testing various things, I noticed the Pi, for those that don't know, has a power LED, red, that just means it's under power, and then there's a green LED that will blink when it's booting up, it's doing stuff, so forth, so on. If it's just idle under power, you're just going to have that red LED. And I noticed that that green LED was blinking like crazy. Well, that means it's working. Why does the TV not see it? So a bit of Googling, a bit of thinking later, a bit of testing on my part. Basically what happens is because of how I have it wired, everything gets power at the same time. The Pi was booting much faster than the TV could. And the Pi was going, well, okay, let's go through how we can output video. HDMI, oh, nope, there's nothing at the other end of that HDMI cable that's actually turned on, so we can't use that. There's nothing there. We'll default down next. What's the next? I think the next is just the component, which I don't even think you can use directly with a out-of-the-box Pi. You'd probably have to add stuff, but I'm not sure who the hell uses composite cables anymore anyway. Okay, well, how can we look into that? How can we prove that? Bit of Googling, and quite simply, all you have to do is go into the boot config of the Pi, do a couple of edits, and you saw the results. Everything works fine. So how are we going to do that? Again, you can either go directly on your Pi, but if it's on the network and you just want to do it from your computer, go online, download a nifty little tool called Putty, which is just an SSH client. We enabled SSH, you remember. And here you are either just going to type RetroPie. If that doesn't work, you need to go back to your Pi, go under RetroPie, and in that menu, there's going to be something that says Show IP. Hit that, it's going to give you a string of numbers that will resemble something along the lines of 198.250.2.1, something like that, for up to 3-digit numbers separated by dots, basically. That's going to be that Pi's IP address for your internal network. Type in that IP if just RetroPie doesn't work. RetroPie should work. I've never seen it not work. You can also use this, pardon me, to connect to it via FTP. FTP is not going to help us in this case, so go ahead and do that. You're going to get a screen. You're going to log in as PI, which is the username, and then the password is Raspberry. Once you sign in, or if you are just going on your Pi directly and you hit F4, you should see this screen no matter which way you're doing it. So from here, what we're going to want to do is, like I was saying, we're going to go ahead and edit the configs of the boot. How do we do that? Well, we're going to type in a simple command. So sudo. If you want the full details of what sudo actually does, I'm not a Linux expert. I just know sudo is basically how you get it to do commands on stuff that you shouldn't have access to. So if you try and edit this file directly without doing sudo first, it's going to tell you you don't have access. Sudo, which is root access, I guess. Again, I'm not a Linux expert, I'm sorry. Nano, which is a text editor. You could use VI, you can use less, use whatever you want that's installed on your Raspberry Pi. I just find Nano is the easiest one to use and is just simple. The file we want to open, so /boot/config.txt. You're going to hit enter. It's going to bring you to this file. If you're doing it through VI, these commands I'm going to show you won't work, but if you're going through VI, I assume you already know the commands for VI. So you get a big boot config here. Everything is basically commented out if you haven't touched it, except for down here, but we're not going to touch that. What did I change? What did I change? Okay, well, we changed a couple of settings, and I'm going to explain why. We're going to go down here where it says uncomment if HDMI display is not detected and composite is being output, aka what I was having. This is basically just a setting that says I don't give a crap, boot to HDMI no matter what you see, no matter what you think. So you're going to uncomment this. It should already be there. HDMI underscore force underscore hot plug equal 1, which is just a Boolean value, 0 false, 1 true. So we want that. Next, you're going to want to uncomment this line down here as well. Uncomment to force HDMI mode rather than DVI. This can make audio work in DMT. I don't know if I needed this, but it sounded like so I just left it in and it works. You can try without if it's booting and you're getting it to display on the TV, but you don't get the sound and you were expecting the sound to go through the HDMI, uncomment that and it'll fix it. So HDMI drive equal 2. Next, I didn't do this at first. I came back and I realized it, but I'm going to save you guys a bit of time. So I uncommented those two out. I rebooted everything. I went, hell, it works. Hallelujah. Everything's working like I want it. But hell, my TV is now displaying the Pi in super, super low res. Why? Well, quite simply put, to my understanding anyway, and again, I'm no expert, but basically what happens with HDMI is the Pi boots up first. We're forcing it to HDMI. It doesn't know what's at the other end. So again, it defaults to the lowest common denominator, the lowest resolution it supports. Would that have been a big deal to leave it like that? No, not really, because I mean, I'm using it for retro gaming, so whatever. But I kind of liked it to be in 720p, which is what my TV is. So back to our config file, and we have something here, uncomment to force a specific HDMI mode. This will force VGA. This comment's probably no longer true because I edited all these values. So actually, I'm going to go ahead and delete this because that's not true. This is what I'm forcing. So as you saw there, it's a very simple, it's just a text editor. Go to where you want to, delete what you need to, punch in whatever you need to, okay? Simple. But here you go. HDMI group 1, the possible values here are 1 or 2. 1 I think is TV formats, 2 would be computer screen formats. It doesn't matter which one you pick, the important thing is to then match the HDMI mode underneath here. So I pulled up the list online, just Google it, I don't remember all of them, I'm sorry. But HDMI mode 4, I know for a fact, as I just commented, is going to force the Pi to be in 720p at 60 Hertz, which is what my TV does. So there you go. You want to go online, look it up. You're probably going to need this. If you want to try without and then come back, that's fine. But go online, Google it. You'll find what the values should be. If you guys are having loads of trouble and you can't find it, by the way, just message me and I'll add it to the comments, but I found it in like 2 seconds, so you should be able to find it. You want to match what your TV can do. So if you're going into a 1080p TV, just set this to 1080p. Try and match the hertz, but to be safe, if you have no clue whatsoever, leave it at 60. But you should be able to find that info. I don't know what would happen if you forced it to 1080p, but you're going into a 720p TV. I would assume what would happen is you'd again get the no signal because it just can't. So to be safe, I just went with what I had. Another thing I added down here, and it wasn't in the file at all, is to disable CEC through HDMI. HDMI, ignore CEC equals to 1. You probably don't need that. What that means is certain devices can boot up and it will send a signal through HDMI. If the TV supports it, the TV will boot, it'll change to that input. I just don't want the TV to be controlled by anything, so I don't want the Pi to control the TV basically, so I turn that off. Once you're done all the changes, you're going to Control O. It's going to ask you at the bottom, file name to write, boot config, yes, because we want to overwrite the boot config, so you're going to hit enter. It's going to save, and then you're going to Control X. Now you're back to here. To test that this fixed everything you were trying to fix, you can just kill the Pi from here, so sudo halt. It's going to send the command and shut off the Pi, which for me is in another room, and you can go ahead and just kill PuTTY. Other things you can use that PuTTY SSH client for from your computer, as long as the Pi is turned on. You can update your versions of RetroPie, you can update the firmware, you can install software on your Pi from that SSH connection. You name it, you can probably do it from the SSH. So there you go. Hopefully that helped someone else out there. I've been racking my brain on this for months and got no help even from the Raspberry Pi official forums. So there you go. That is how, if you're running a similar setup to me, you just want the Pi to boot up at the same time as your screen and everything. That's how you do it. Force HDMI, force the resolution, and you're good to go. Hopefully this helps someone. So more videos to come. I have no idea what they'll be about, but I'm making these as I go along.